Welcome to the Family Office Estate Planning Future Proofing Family Wealth session. My name is Markus Schwinksackel. I'm a private wealth lawyer based in Zurich, Switzerland, and will be your host for the next 45 minutes. We will split this session into two parts. In a first part, we will turn data into insights on family office estate planning. And in a second part, we will have a panel discussion with industry experts that share their views and experience. This first part is mainly based on data from the UBS Global Family Office reports of the last years and applies to both single and multi-family offices. So, which are the family office's core services? We have four areas here. Strategic asset allocation that is performed by 90% of family offices in-house, risk management that is performed by 83% of family offices, real estate management by 75%, and accounting and reporting by 74% of family offices in-house. This data shows us that family offices are wealth management service entities and that their core capabilities are investment related. These are also the main reason why wealth owners decide to work with the family office, and for family offices themselves, the main differentiators in service delivery and quality compared to traditional wealth management offerings. We have a similar situation in family office governance structures. So again, here the leading areas are strategic asset allocation, monitoring and controlling, and the tactical asset allocation, all investment related, and the governance framework for the family office investment policy, and if it has one, for the family office investment committee. I have highlighted two areas here that are important for our discussion, and this is on one hand the mission statement, on the other hand succession planning. We see that 54% of family offices, as part of their governance, they have a mission statement. And with regard to single family offices, I would assume that this mission statement overlaps with the family's mission and vision, and also with their values. Regarding succession planning, we see that 34% of family offices cover it within their governance structure. If we look at succession planning in general, we see that more than half of family offices have already succession plans in place. This can be a formal written plan, this can be an informally agreed written plan, or this can be a verbally agreed plan. And we see that 25% of family offices are currently developing a succession plan. So there is definitely awareness and acknowledgement of the importance of estate and succession planning within the family office community. Here we have the Family Office General Advisory Services, which are not core services. I have picked three areas here. The first one is financial planning, that is performed by 62% of family offices in-house. This rather high coverage is given due to the fact that if a family office already has investment-related capabilities, it can also cover financial planning. The second area is trust management, that is performed by 43% of family offices in-house. In my view, this is not strictly estate planning, but rather the execution of an estate plan, so not that much related around or to discussions on estate planning. And finally, we see that estate planning itself is only performed by 27% of family offices in-house. So there are various reasons for it. One reason is that wealth owners and family offices still collaborate with external experts such as lawyers, estate planners, and wealth planners. Another reason is that wealth owners still consider as estate planning as a one-off exercise. So once I've done it, I'm done with it. And thus they don't go back to discuss this with their family office further. And another reason that I experience often in practice is that estate planning is an uncomfortable matter. Discussing your own mortality is not easy for wealth owners. There are barriers to discuss it within the family, and there are also barriers to discuss it with service providers. The picture here gets even more clear when we look at the challenges of the current generation. So what I already mentioned, there is a discomfort in discussing such a sensitive matter. The current generation, so silent generation and boomer generation, they also tend to see the next generation as still being too young to plan. And what I also see frequently in practice is that when having a dialogue on estate planning, that wealth owners get worried that they would have to relinquish control over their wealth. So all of this is building barriers for them to approach estate planning proactively. On the contrary, if we look what the next generation is expecting, we see that they want more transparency on family wealth, in the sense that they don't want to hide their wealth. They also want more involvement to shape family wealth. So we see that there is strong demand for sustainable and purpose-driven investments. And this is not only limited to investments, but also that we see that the next generation is actively approaching the purpose of wealth. So the purpose of wealth for the family, but also for the community. And what I find interesting and also surprising is that the next generation sees themselves as transitional wealth owners for the benefit of further generation. And this naturally leads to the conversation on how should wealth be transferred to the next generation. So to recap, here I have 3 findings. Family offices are still wealth management services entities, and their main capabilities are investment related. However, family offices recognize the importance of estate planning and succession planning. We see this in governance, but we also see this in their succession planning. And finally, there is a strong demand of the next generation to approach family wealth in a different way, which also includes to have clarity on how family wealth is going to be transferred to the next generation. Now that we know where family offices stand regarding estate planning and what's on the horizon, the question is, how can they level up their game? We saw two main areas. One is capabilities, the other one is governance. I personally don't believe that by increasing capabilities, family offices will be better prepared, but I strongly believe in governance frameworks. Why? Because we have a role model here, and that's the family business governance framework with three areas: family, ownership, and business. I want to highlight a few elements. In the family area, there is a strong focus on the family's legacy, on their mission, on their vision, and their values. On the ownership side, there are governance policies around ownership structuring. So how is the family business owned? Who is owning the family business? And with estate planning, they already have policies how ownership is going to be transferred. And they even cover the part how estate planning is then executed, for instance, with trusts and foundations. And the family business can then integrate into the model where we have rules around how the board of directors composition, the executive board, and how people are going to succeed in leadership roles. Let's look at the benefits of family governance. So what we see on the impact side is that 41% of family businesses with written values have robust succession planning in place. And this compared to 20% of other family businesses. So there is a correlation between the family's legacy, their values, their vision, their mission, and how they deal with estate and succession planning. What we also see is that they have estate planning tools as part of their governance policies, and that they are increasingly implementing estate planning tools. We see this that in 2018, 34% of family businesses had estate planning tools in place, while in 2021, so 3 years later, we are already at 42%. And there's another important impact factor to consider. During the pandemic, 60% of ultra-high net worth individuals have reviewed their succession plan. And 48% of family offices have reassessed their attitudes towards succession planning. Let's put the pieces together to enhancing family office estate planning and future-proofing family wealth. This is how the governance model could look like. Again, we have three areas: family, ownership, and the family office. On the family side, we place a high focus on their legacy, their vision, their mission, and their values. Why? Because we know it has a positive correlation with wealth preservation and wealth transfer within the family. On the ownership side, we have policies around how to structure ownership of family wealth, we also have estate planning policies in place on how wealth is going to be transferred and how such estate plans are going to be executed. And with this, the family office can then integrate into the overall governance framework. It's still going to stick to its core capabilities, which are investment strategy and risk management, but it can act as a governance facilitator.